We are now recording. Monday, we made a skull in class right here out of Sculpey. I started with a preliminary skull that I made outside of class, and then in class we did this skull. So today, as a preliminary character piece, I built another skull, and then I started adding the eyes, and I added some for the nose. I didn't really do too much for the mouth, but I did add ears, and I added some hair. And also, I took the liberties to build out my cheekbones a little bit more and made my orbits just a little bit bigger for this character. So what I was going to do is invite the people that don't have clay. When we're doing our clay sculpture, I'm going to invite you guys to do some drawings, some sketches of what you would like to make either in ZBrush or with clay for your character, okay? So those of you that don't have clay, you guys get to draw. And those of you that do have clay, you can sculpt. If you want to sculpt with me during this demo, feel free. If you have a skull that's already built, if you want to just watch, and then I'll give you guys some class time to do this. So it's totally up to you. But after I'm finished with this, I'll scroll through and have you guys tell me which direction you're going to go. All right, so what I'm going to do is take this skull and I'm going to get my sculpting tool and I'm going to build out my orbits just a little bit. So I'm pushing the clay to widen this orbit and I'm pulling this down a little bit. So I'm trying to react with this skull the way I reacted to my preliminary skull that I just showed you. So here we go. We're pulling this down just a little bit. And we're taking liberties. Remember earlier in the semester when we did the skull, then I had you guys in our character design draw a skull and modify it, and then do another skull with those same modifications, but add the character's likeness and features and things like that. So I'm going to take this little piece of clay and roll an eyeball, and I'm going to set it right inside my eye socket. And with this Sculpey, it pretty much stays right there. I don't have to worry about it falling out. And, you know, I don't have to do too much to it with my tool at this juncture. But I am going to roll one more eyeball and go ahead and put that in there. So that's how I'm going to start. And that's how I started with this character. So you can see how I just set the eyeball inside the socket and I didn't really get into the eyelids or anything. So, you know, you can evolve your character as you go and do stages of what you feel your character should look like. That is why partly I didn't really do too much to the mouth because I kind of liked the way it looked after I just sort of indicated the teeth. I was like, that looks kind of cool. And that's why I stayed with that. So I'm putting the little ball for the nose right at the end. I just rolled it and set it down just like the eyeballs. Then I'll take another piece of clay and put it for the top of the nose. So again, I'm rolling this. So it looks like a piece like this. And then I'll just go from the glabella down to that little ball that I just put down at the end. And now you can see we've got a profile for our nose. So now that I have that, the next thing that I want to do is I want to put a little bit of clay underneath the nose above the top row of teeth. So I want to fill that in a little bit. So I don't want my teeth to disappear necessarily, but by doing this, it sort of gives the feel of a muscle called your orbicularis oris. And the orbicularis oris is a round muscle that goes around your mouth. And then there's an orbicularis oculi that goes around your eye. So by putting this in, it's starting to refer to that muscle. And then I'm going to put a little bit of clay coming from the side of the nose down to the orbicularis oris. And I'll have that with my tool. I'll just kind of blend it in right around the eye here. There we go. So now that cheekbone is starting to work with the clay that I just added, and I'm going to add a little bit more on the other side. Roll that a little bit. So there's a group of muscles right up here on the side of the nose, and the group is referred to as the quadratus labii superioris muscles. Quadratus labii superioris. And so one of those muscles is what I'm putting in right now that comes down from the side of the nose and joins the orbicularis oris. So I really like that. I like how that looks. And I think it's kind of fun at this point as you're developing your character to let some of the anatomy still be apparent before you cover it all up and sort of, you know, get rid of it. So I'm going to put my ears in, but before I do, I'm going to do what I did to the other model that I worked with earlier today. And I'm putting a flat piece of clay right on top of the head. And this is going to start to give me that feeling of hair. And all I'm doing is just pinching it with my fingers. And I haven't really used my tool much. Just some of the edges of that clay as it's laying on top of the skull start to give me a feeling of hair that, you know, for the character that I'm building here, I really like that design aspect of it. We'll bring this on the back, connect that. And then I'll use my tool to just sort of press in and maybe bring some shape to the hair as it's going back. Push up a little bit, curve this down, bring some shape across here with a little curved edge. All right, so we've got some hair on top, and then I'll throw in my ears. I'm going to have them, you know, I don't want them to stick out too much, but I want us to be able to see them as I'm holding it from the side or from the front. I want to be able to see them a little bit right here. And every character is different, and maybe you're making a character that doesn't have ears, and that's okay. But for my demo, this guy's got ears. And what I like to do is take my toothpick and go in here where the ears are and just sort of hollow out a little bit in the center.
So for us doing a ZBrush sculpt, it's okay if we do something a little stylized?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, look, I want you to use the anatomy as a way to build your characters. So,
Right.
you know,
No, Sarah, you can't.
Listen, I'm starting on it now, so I'm just making sure.
Yeah, so you can work stylized. I don't, you know, I'm not saying everybody has to do a human character. But I'd like you to define just like in any sort of animation, any animation that's already been produced, if you were go to behind the scenes as to, what is there, like 2,000 names in the credit when a full feature film goes up, everybody's doing a different part of what I'm doing right here. Somebody's got to do the understructure, and then somebody's got to build on top of it, and then somebody else has to do the details. It just so happens that when you're a student, you do all of those things. So, this is my character. Okay. This is where I'm going to stop my demo right now. And what I'd like to do is to see